Hi, everyone. I am Anna, and welcome to today's message. Today's message is Fear 104 from our Fear series, The Fear of Grief. And today we have two verses Psalm 34:18, the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. And Matthew 5:4, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Today I chose two verses simply because I just couldn't decide. You see, the life of a grief coach is not an easy one. And talking about it, well, that's not easy either. But it is necessary when, like me, you make a choice to help others and when God puts a calling on your life to do it. Having lived through grief in many ways in my own life makes it personal every single time that I speak to someone. And it's no different today as I type this message out, knowing that I was going to record it for the masses of people that listen. There are many types of grief, and it is complicated. And each type reflects a different emotional response to its loss. Normal grief, as we see it and as we're taught, is a part of grief after the loss of someone that we love, when they die. But honestly, that is just the surface of it. Grief occurs when we anticipate the loss before it happens, and it becomes more complicated than what we were longing for, and when we think about what could have been. And it's traumatic and abrupt when it happens suddenly and unexpectedly. It can be delayed when you end up grieving for months or even years. And it can be inhibited when you struggle to acknowledge your own feelings of sadness, and especially when society tells you you should have moved ahead already. And when you experience grief and it's not openly acknowledged, like maybe when a pet dies, it can often lead to isolation and confusion. And understanding it and learning about it helped me validate my own experience and learn how to help others. And sometimes I learned you can experience more than one of these types of grief at the same time, which is what happened to me. And not once or twice, but many times and in many ways, which is the reason that I chose to coach. Now, see, what most people don't understand is that grief is not just about death. Non-death grief, such as losing a job, becoming sick, childhood trauma, changes in your life, losing a good friend, a romantic partner, or getting divorced are just a few examples. And non-death loss is real, and honestly, it is what I deal with the most as a coach. And a lot of people struggle when this type of grief occurs because it is not the normal grief that we are taught to accept. And it is in this grief that it causes the most isolation and misunderstanding, in my opinion. Now, there's a fine line in my journey where I had to make hard choices. The choice that everyone who finds grief has to make. It is a place between your mind, which is logical, and your heart, which is quietly torn. And your direction is really based on what you're willing to feel. Basically, are you going to run or are you going to stay? Meaning you either stay stuck or you find peace in letting go. And finding love in grief, well, it is a very difficult journey. And I know because I had to do it. And I realized in the middle of my training that I was processing not only physical death, but trauma that I had held very tightly to. Because I didn't think that I could face the pain that came with addressing it. And on the day that I finally realized that, well, I nearly quit school. And I'm glad now that God gave me the perseverance to continue on with my journey. But I'm not going to pretend and lie to you and tell you that it was easy. You see, grief is a very personal journey, and there is no instruction about the right way to do it. Like anything else in your life, if you run from it, you are only fearing the outcome because you don't believe you can outrun it. But when you face it, confront it, go through it, find love in it, and come out on the other side of it, you do eventually find peace. But it is very painful. And you have to be brave enough to do it. I've learned that your experience is based on what you lost and how well you can cope with it. And the basic bottom line is I didn't understand that what I was experiencing and the multiple griefs were something that not a single person in my life had ever said to me. And it's that grief is actually fear. It's fear that you have every single day. It comes from years of trauma, sorrow, and the inability to move ahead. It's like carrying a heavy weight in your heart, and you can't even imagine how heavy it could be. And it's not like that fear just leaves one day and you are suddenly better. It takes time, patience, and a lot of self-love to create healing in your heart. You have to dig through the trauma of self-doubt. You have to find forgiveness, let go of regret, and all the broken parts of you. And you have to become a different person. You have to find a way to accept who you were and let that person leave for good. You have to find the person within that's no longer interested in carrying your trauma around. You have to choose to let your soul speak louder than the noise around you. And you have to allow yourself to choose to walk away. And you have to allow yourself to pick a different journey. It is an inner recalibration. It is a quiet power of love, choosing to close the space between who you were and who you are to become. And it feels at first like confusion, but it is not confusion, it is transformation. And your body still feels the loss, and the emotions, well, they still sometimes surface. But they aren't going to tell you to run anymore. They have now asked you to feel instead, and to become the person that it took to arrive at this place. To choose what's next, and to walk through it in God's grace and unconditional love. It is knowing that with God, things just have a miraculous way of working out. And it's learning to trust that. It is understanding that love is stronger than grief or fear. Today, my message is this. I have learned well enough that when something comes to an end, you have to accept it and understand the necessity of it, or you become bitter. Mourning is not just a sadness, but a human experience that connects us to God and even to one another. And it is only in knowing that God is in control and He knows what He's doing, and that it's in God's plan for your life, and that to heal, you have to find God within, going to where He is in your heart, and to find growth even in pain. That is how you find the peace that you seek. It is wisdom to understand that God is within you, and you will never be the same as before. But God is moving within you even when you sleep. And at your heart's core, the weight is lighter. It is an acceptance and knowing that loving you enough to let go and stop staying where fear lives. It is acknowledgement of how far you've come and embracing your experience with so much love that you develop into a new spirit. It is the strength to wake up with a sound mind and heart, full of courage and grace. It's making progress, and it's choosing life that you realize is your love. And it's just a simpler way of showing love to other people who are struggling, and to let them know that love, well, it's there to be found. Because, well, you want them to heal too. And it's wholeheartedly choosing the unconditional love of God that heals what is really trying to kill you. It is when you choose to grow from the inside out that your soul leads you back to your true self. And you can't heal in the place that makes you sick. You need to leave there and not return. It is knowing that when grief sits heavy in your heart, God is not going to run from your humanity. In fact, God will lead you to hope and healing. And when you're barely holding on, well, He's there. And He's showing you that what once hurt you is now gently guiding you to a deeper inner truth. That you aren't falling apart after all, but you are transforming. And your pain, well, it was only a messenger and it's not a life sentence. Trust me, you have plenty of life left to live in love. So, my friends, choose God's unconditional love because, well, where there's grief, there's God. My friends, love is the answer. If this resonated with you, please like and share my post. And thank you for your donations to my divine mission and for helping me to keep my messages alive. I'll see you next time.